Welcome to our comment spotlight for this week on Muggles and Mocha. I'll keep this short so that we can get to talking about wands and Chapter 5 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. But this week, our comment spotlight is from one of my really good friends. He is from Owasso, Michigan, where Foster's was from, if you remember that, one of my favorite mugs. His name is Tyler Powers. He comments every week, and if you've gotten to read them, they're just so insightful and fun. And thank you, Tyler. I love your comments. And I'm going to focus on a specific part from this week's comment that I wanted to bring special attention to. So I'll read that for you. This is starting farther down in the middle of the comment. Tyler says, "Oh, I almost forgot. You were asking about if we know who was in charge of getting those letters to Harry, and I think we actually know. It's Hagrid. At the end of Chapter 4, he tells Harry that he's only allowed to do magic when granted specific permission, and that includes getting the letters to Harry and following them to the hut on the rock. I'm so happy to be rereading with you because I never picked up on that before. Your comment about Hagrid being the gatekeeper to many of the major moments in Harry's childhood really stuck with me, and I ended up making a cool connection. He's the keeper of the keys. He's literally Harry's key to the world of magic in the beginning of the rest of his life. JK is a clever one. One more Hagrid comment, and I'll call it quits until next time. My favorite thing out of these two chapters by far is seeing Hagrid give Harry love and attention, while actually standing up to the Dursleys, something Harry physically can't do yet. I remember this being so satisfying when I read it for the first time. Rowling does a great job creating characters that we love to hate, and when those characters get even a small serving of comeuppance, it feels like taking the first sip of a particularly wonderful cup of coffee. See what I did there? Thank you, Tyler. You're very funny. Thank you for the comment. And yeah, you brought up a bunch of great points about Hagrid, who I'm just loving more and more. I mean, I've always liked him, but it's just really coming out in these videos. Thank you for pointing out that he's the one getting Harry his letters. Obviously, I never noticed that either. I always took that statement to mean that, like, he used magic to find Harry after they left. But you're right, like, he does say the letters, so wow. So much innovation and creativity from Hagrid when it comes to getting those letters to him. And I always love the point. He is the keeper of the keys for Harry, quite literally. I love how Hagrid's the one that ushers Harry into this world. And, you know, not only is he taking him to places like Diagon Alley, but he's filling him in on this world that he's been missing for so long. Harry learns about how Muggles and wizards interact, money in the Muggle world, and Hagrid's just feeding him all of this information that's just so special. And yeah, I just love the relationship between Harry and Hagrid, especially as you see it continue through the books. And this is where it really starts. Him standing up to these people who have just been pushing Harry down his whole life and giving him the confidence to step out of that world and into a new one with help from the keeper of the keys. So yes, again, thank you so much, Tyler. And thank you for all of you who commented. I'm serious, I love reading them. So keep them coming and just let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to post. So now we're gonna talk about Chapter 5 and some wands. Let's get started. Hi everybody, and welcome to Muggles and Mocha. If you're new here, we're happy to have you. This is our Harry Potter book club with Harry Potter and coffee. We're discussing all the chapters in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. It's a party, it's fun. We're glad you're here. Here's my coffee mug today. It's one of my favorites. I actually got it when my husband and I were dating. I'm gonna be honest, today's video is gonna be hard because we're going to Diagon Alley and there is so much stuff. That's the thing I found with this first book, actually. There's just so many new things to be covered that I just want to like grab them all and talk about them. But there's some that you'll see I'm gonna have to come back to in later videos whenever we're able to focus more on that one thing, as opposed to in Diagon Alley where we are finding new magical things at every single turn. But today we are going to talk about something very specific that I've been so excited about, and I've been talking about it with you guys all week, getting ready for this, and it's about wands. And we are going to dissect my wand that I was chosen for on Pottermore and what it means maybe about me as an individual. So that's going to be pretty fun. Before we dive into that, we will talk about where we left Harry at the end of chapter 4. Harry begins to learn about the wizarding world pretty rapid fire. This is all before they even reach London, so Harry's head is just spinning at this point. And that is when they first get into Diagon Alley. Recently, it was about a year ago now, I went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and I got to see Diagon Alley for the first time and the Gringotts ride, and it was magical. I cried. We ate at the Leaky Cauldron. Oh gosh, it was really cool. If you have the chance to go there, please do. But yeah, as Harry makes his way through Diagon Alley, actually closer to the end of the chapter, I think one of the most important parts, which we're going to get into, is when Harry gets his wand. He goes to Ollivander's wand shop and his wand chooses him there. Now, the choosing on its own is super interesting. The way that wands choose wizards. If I could do anything in the wizarding world, this would probably be it. Having a wand choose me would just be so special and cool, and it kind of makes me think of like a soulmate in wand form. I don't know. But I've always just been really enamored with this part in the Harry Potter series because I feel like it's one of the first things Harry gets that's actually his, and not only is it his, it's chosen him. So he's just matched to it, and you see how important their connection is throughout the entire series. It kind of sounds like I'm talking about the wand like a person, but that's what Ollivander does, so don't judge. I think we need to think of the wands as people in this video, all right? I actually did get to do this technically. So the first time I ever went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter was my junior year of high school, and I was just floored. I mean, you guys know, you who have been there, if you grew up reading the books, it's like going home. And I went with my parents, and my mom grew up, when I was growing up, we read the books together, and it was really special for her too, I think. We both cried when we saw the castle. It was one of the best days of my life. Actually, when me and my husband started dating, he asked me, like, what's been the best day of your life so far? The best thing that's happened to you? And I told him this story. Like, this is how much it's impacted me. That on one of our first dates, I told my future husband that I got chosen by a wand at Ollivander's. So yeah, I got to go in there. I was wearing a Quidditch t-shirt, and all the adults line up at the back of the room and the little kids get in the front, and I was at the back because I was about 17 at the time, so I figured they're gonna choose a kid to get this wand. I thought that was kind of how it went, but no, the guy pointed at me. Oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it again. I got to go forward and try out these wands, and I was breaking things, and oh gosh. What a time. And then a wand chose me, and a light came over my head, and my hair was blowing in the wind, and I was like, I have arrived. Like, this is the only thing I've ever wanted. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be showing you some wands, and today is the day. I'm gonna show you 2, and this is the first one. This is the wand that chose me, So I did end up buying it. It chose me, and the guy was like, okay, if you want to buy your wand, it's $30. And I was like, okay, the wand just chose me. What am I supposed to do? Just leave it? So we bought the wand. My mom was sobbing. It was a magical experience. And I actually have 7 wands. If you'd like to play a little guessing game, I might show them to you before each video that I'm going to reveal them and have you guess which one it is. I don't know, that could be fun. But yeah, I have 7. I'll show them to you over our time talking about the book series. They'll just pop up and surprise you every once in a while. I probably won't show you 2 like I am in this video, but I was so excited, I couldn't hold back. So before we talk about the significance of Harry's wand specifically, I wanted to discuss wand lore in general. J.K. Rowling posted a series of articles that were all about wand lengths and flexibility and the woods itself and like what those meant, but it's supposed to be in the model of Ollivander's notes, so it's kind of like you're reading it in his voice. Super cool. I'll actually plug all of those into the description of this so that you can click on them and read them for yourself if you want to. They're really fascinating. I'm serious, they are. First of all, J.K. Rowling put a lot of time into everything she wrote down in these books, obviously. But based on what she wrote in her books and then these articles that I would read, she put so much thought into the wand lore. It's so fun to read about. But first, we'll kind of start with Ollivander. Super important character, not just in this book, but in later books as well, as we will see. He is one of the finest wand makers in the world, they say. He is described as fanatical, and he's a purist when it comes to wand cores, which I found super interesting. Back in the day, before Ollivander became popular, a lot of wizards would just use magical substances that were associated with nostalgia. For instance, we see that in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire with Fleur Delacour and her grandmother's hair in her wand. That is her wand core because her grandmother was a Vila. So technically magical creature, her grandmother, that's why she chose that. Ollivander was the first wand maker who solidified that there were 3 cores that were more powerful than anything else, which that would be the unicorn tail hair, the phoenix feather, and the dragon heartstring, which always really freaked me out, and I'm kind of glad it is not the core that's in my wand, but we'll talk more about the cores later. The thing we just need to realize is his methods were revolutionary. He's obsessed with wands, and you know what? He does view them as people. He views them as objects with a preference and that are looking for something and that have their own decisions that they make. So my wand, for instance, just thought we would go well together. And he believes that it really comes down to the wand choosing the wizard, you know, as he says in the books. But to start, we'll talk about wand length, flexibility, the cores, and the different wand woods in that order. For wand length, the length usually falls between 9 and 14 inches, and rather than being associated with the actual physical height of people, as some people believe, apparently, says the article, it usually is associated with the types of personalities people have. So the longer the wand, usually the bigger the personality. Next, we have the flexibility, and I'm sure you can kind of guess what this refers to. It's the degree of adaptability and willingness to change possessed by the wand and owner pair. So, you know, how easily you're able to adapt to situations or even change who you are and grow, or, you know, like, are you set in your ways or not? That kind of thing. And then we have the cores. Now, these are the 3 supreme cores, they're called, chosen by Ollivander. So first, we have the unicorn hair. These usually produce the most consistent magic. The article that I read says that they're generally the most difficult to turn to the dark arts, which I found very interesting, especially since unicorns are described as being such pure creatures. That makes a lot of sense. You'll find that these cores really do relate to the creatures that they were taken from as far as the personality goes, or how they interact with the different wand woods and the people themselves. Gosh, these are all sentences that I just always hoped I'd have the opportunity to say at some point in my life. Unicorn tail hairs are usually in the most faithful of all wands, remain strongly attached to their first owner. They do have some disadvantages. They don't make the most powerful wands, although depending on the length, flexibility, and the wood, you may be able to compensate for this. And it says, and I quote, "They are prone to melancholy if seriously mishandled, meaning that the hair may die and need replacing." But really, that goes with, the fact of not being turned to the dark arts. I can see that as being mishandled, honestly. And, it makes sense that the core just wouldn't have anything to do with that. Okay, next we have the dragon heartstring. Oh, that sounds gross. So the article says that these usually produce the wands with the most power, which comes from a dragon's heart. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. They tend to learn more quickly than other types. They can change allegiance if won from their original master, but they do always bond strongly with the current owner. They can be turned to the dark arts really easily. Again, dragons and unicorns. Are we surprised here? Then we have the phoenix feather, the one that I feel is glorified in the Harry Potter universe, and with good reason. You know, I don't think it's just glorified because it's the best core, but it really has a lot to do with the connection between Harry and Voldemort's wands, which we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about it. It won't have to wait. We'll dive into that a little bit. But for the Phoenix core, it says this is the rarest core type, which is interesting. They're capable of the greatest range of magic, but they take longer than both the unicorn and the dragon cores to reveal this. It also says they show the most initiative, sometimes acting of their own accord, which makes a lot of sense. We see this throughout the series, at least on Harry's part. Moving on, we're getting to my favorite part, the different wand woods. And guys, there are 38 of them. When I was researching, I hoped I'd be able to just go through all of them quickly, like I did for the other categories. There weren't very much involved with those, but there were 38. But like I said, I'm going to attach that article in the description of this video. Get on there and check them out, especially if you take the quiz. Go read about your wand wood. It's so interesting and fun. So since there are 38, I'm going to mainly concentrate on the woods that we know and love that maybe belong to some of the main characters in the series. So first, we'll start with Holly. That is Harry's wand. And we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity and talk about Harry's wand for a brief moment, since we're going so into the wood. And I'm going to go ahead and read the full description of Holly for you, so you can really imagine what this means for Harry's wand. So what we know is that it is 11 inches, Holly, phoenix tail feather, which, as we'll go into, Ollivander kind of freaks out about. But as we start, this is the second wand we have, and it deserves a little bit of an explanation, okay? This is the first wand I ever got. First of all, it's before Ollivander's or Wizarding World of Harry Potter was a thing. There used to be websites that would make wands based off of how they appeared in the movies. And this is a model of the wand that they used for Harry in the first 2 movies. You'll see in the 3rd movie, Prisoner of Azkaban, they change it so it looks like a stick. And I'm a little resentful of this because this is polished and just it looks ordinary, and there's so much power that's within it that Harry doesn't even realize is going to show itself. And I just think that it's such a cool package to have it in. Oh, you can't really tell, but it's like chipped in places because I got this as a kid. Like I was young, and so I would play with it. So it has some wear and tear, and I'm just really attached to this wand. His core of phoenix tail feather is one of the reasons why Harry's wand choosing is so rare. Of course, as we'll get into, it's also because he got it from the same phoenix that gave a tail feather for Voldemort's wand, which is also Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix. What a small world is all I have to say. But yeah, so obviously that makes it rare and surprising. But from a wand lore perspective, it's also extremely rare because Holly rarely ever chooses or bonds with a phoenix tail feather. So that, on top of the Voldemort thing, I'm sure was going through Ollivander's head because 2 strange occurrences in one. So I'll go ahead and read the wood description for this, and it'll give us a little bit more of a picture of what Harry's dealing with here. Holly is one of the rarer kinds of wand woods. Traditionally considered protective, it works most happily for those who may need help overcoming a tendency to anger and impetuosity. Okay. Harry's not like an angry kid, but I just can't help but think of the Order of the Phoenix, which I know that's like puberty Harry. Like, he's 15, he's going through a lot of stuff. He saw Cedric Diggory die like a couple months before. He's going through a lot. But I am very excited to read this series because I think I've become so used to Daniel Radcliffe's portrayal of Harry, which I love. I love Daniel Radcliffe, but when I read the Harry Potter books, Harry's a bit more emotional, a bit more passionate, he gets mad at Ron and Hermione a lot. So I do think this kind of fits. At the same time, Holly Wands often choose owners who are engaged in some dangerous and often spiritual quest. Yes. Holly is one of those woods that varies most dramatically in performance depending on the wand core, and it is notoriously difficult wood to team with the phoenix feather, as the wood's volatility conflicts strangely with the phoenix's detachment. In the usual event of such a pairing, finding its ideal match, however, nothing and nobody should stand in their way. Of course, Harry would get the most awesome wood, and also the core that goes with it. You know, main character, spiritual quest, physical, violent quest. You know, it makes sense. So that was the first wood I wanted to look at. Second, we have the wood Willow, which is Ron's, and this is the wand that actually chooses him. You know, he uses the hand-me-down wand in the first two books, so this is the one he gets chosen for in the third. It says it's an uncommon wood with healing power, and then the people who usually get this wand would usually have an unwarranted insecurity, which I think really does fit Ron. And then Ollivander actually says that his Willow wands have constantly selected those of the greatest potential rather than those who feel they have little to learn. And you know what? I need to cut Ron some slack. I haven't talked about it yet, but I feel like when I think back on Ron throughout the books, I get a tiny bit annoyed at him. Probably because the 4th and 7th books, you know, he and Harry get in that fight. He doesn't talk to him because he was chosen to be the Triwizard Champion for Hogwarts. And I don't know, I just think I have some unresolved negative feelings toward Ron. So I'm going to be spending this read really looking at who he is as a friend, because he's such a great friend. He's loyal, he's funny, he sticks up for Harry. I need to cut him some slack. We'll see. The next one I wanted to look at is Vine. This is Hermione's. I had no idea hers was made of vine wood. I mean, it's not like a flimsy vine, but you know, the wood that comes with a vine, all right? And actually, when I was first reading about the different woods, I got to Vine and I was reading about it and I was like, oh my goodness, I wish this one had been in the book. It's so neat because Ollivander actually talks about how it was first seen with the Druids and how he's excited that he's been able to continue their ancient tradition. And I just thought that the history behind that was neat. And then, lo and behold, Hermione's wand is made of this wood, which is really cool. It's among the less common types of wood. And Ollivander says, I have been intrigued to notice that their owners are nearly always those witches or wizards who seek a greater purpose, who have a vision beyond the ordinary, and who frequently astound those who think they know them best. I mean, is there any better way to describe Hermione? And then the last wood, when it comes to the characters in the books, the last wood I wanted to talk about is Yew, and this is Voldemort's wand wood. And I thought that his really fit him as well. It's one of the rare kinds. All of these woods are of the rare kinds, okay? I guess that's why they chose our protagonist and our, antagonist. It says that Yew wands are among the rare kinds. Their ideal matches are likewise unusual and occasionally notorious. So, there you go. It says it could endow its possessor with the power of life and death, and retains a particularly dark and fearsome reputation in the spheres of dueling and all curses. So we're lucky Voldemort got this wand, I guess. But then I always love how in this article particularly Ollivander defends wands. So he talks about the ones that are more apt to go to the dark arts, but he's like, okay, but it's not the wand's fault. They don't do this of their own accord. It's the wizard, you know, he defends his wands. But yeah, those are the main woods I wanted to talk about besides the one I got on Pottermore. That's the last one we're going to cover. So next, I want to go into my wand that I received through the Wizarding World's website. And if you haven't, you should really take the test, especially now that these articles are available. Take the test and then read about what it means. Especially I found the wand woods particularly interesting. So yeah, check it out. For my wand, I'll hold it up because we'll just pretend. This is what the wand looks like, okay? Because this one chose me, so I'm just guessing it has to be the same. But, so it is laurel wood with a unicorn hair core, and it is 10 3/4 inches and is quite bendy in flexibility. I'm trying. So for the laurel wood, I'm gonna read it word for word because don't want us to miss anything. It is said that a laurel wand cannot perform a dishonorable act. Although in the quest for glory, a not uncommon goal for those best suited to these wands, what can I say? I have known laurel wands perform powerful and sometimes lethal magic. Laurel wands are sometimes called fickle, but this is unfair. The laurel wand seems unable to tolerate laziness in a possessor, and it is in such conditions that it is most easily and willingly won away. Otherwise, it will cleave happily to its first match forever, and indeed has the unusual and engaging attribute of issuing a spontaneous lightning strike if another witch or wizard attempts to steal it. So, watch out. Yeah, this is interesting. So apparently if I am lazy, which hopefully I won't be, my wand can be won away. It can't perform a dishonorable act, which I think matches really well with the unicorn tail hair, because that's also the one that is not easily turned to dark magic. So maybe this is a good thing. I wouldn't have become a dark wizard in the wizarding world. And then as far as the length, like we talked about, I guess my personality's okay. It's a good average. And then with quite bendy flexibility, I don't really know what this means for me or if this is fitting. I'm trying to become more adaptable in my life, and I feel like I'm pretty open-minded. I don't know. Take the test, find your wand, and talk about it. Actually, if you want to take the test, you should post your results in the comments and we can discuss what this means for you. Would you have been a dark wizard, even though, as Ollivander says, it's not the wand that chooses for the wizard to go bad? I think the wand test kind of fits. I don't know. Maybe. So back to Harry's wand. Like we said, Holly, 11 inches. I think this is 11 inches. Actually, I think I measured it once just to check. And the phoenix tail feather. Ollivander acts super intense about this and the connection between the two wands. He keeps saying, curious. And like I said, I do think it is kind of because this wand itself would be rare because of simply the phoenix tail feather and the wood matchup. But also, we know that Ollivander is focusing on this because the tail feather that's in this wand actually has a brother, another tail feather from the same phoenix in Voldemort's wand. Which, gosh, man, I'm getting deep into thought here. Just about the connection between Voldemort and Harry. It's such a big deal. I'm going to kind of go back to Parker's comment that we focused on last week that talks about how Harry and Voldemort have a lot of similarities, and this is just another one. You know, the fact that their wands are brothers in a sense. And as you find out in the fourth, their wands can't really harm each other. You know, you have the Priori Incantatem spell that goes on and reveals all their last spells, and then Harry's wand acts of its own accord and fights Voldemort when he tries to attack him with another wand. There's just a lot going on here when it comes to the Harry's and Voldemort's connections and their wands connections. And also, I think it's very interesting. We are going to get into this later because we honestly don't have time to cover it today. But in the 5th book, we find out that there is a prophecy about maybe Harry, or maybe Neville Longbottom, you know, of the person who's going to defeat Voldemort. And as we see, this prophecy isn't really set in stone, and Voldemort chooses Harry. But if he had gone after Neville, it makes me wonder, like, would this wand have chosen Neville? Like, would they have been connected in a certain way where it would have chosen Neville instead? Something to think about. There's a lot going on in the Harry Potter universe. Everyone talks about how it's a kid's book. It is a kid's book, but it appeals so widely to adults too, because there's just a lot of depth in there. We are running out of time. I hope you enjoyed learning about these wands and seeing 2 from my collection. They're 2 of my favorites, and I can't wait to bring more out. But before we go, we will talk about a brief summary of what happens to Harry in this chapter. We see that through going to Diagon Alley, he gets further invested in the wizarding world, involved there. We see his meeting with everyone in the Leaky Cauldron and how they all just want to meet him and shake his hand and just have the opportunity to speak with him. I think it's the first time that it really clicks in that, you know, people in this world view him differently. You know, he's not going to be viewed as the Harry Potter who came from Privet Drive. He is the Harry Potter who defeated the Dark Lord, and just wrapping his mind around that. And we actually talk about that in our article for this week in Harry's Change in Identity, so check that out. It kind of goes through chapter 4 and 5 and all the information that Harry is learning, and so I think that's really solidified in the Leaky Cauldron scene. We see Harry bond with Hagrid. Hagrid gets him Hedwig. Oh gosh. And then we see Harry develop some insecurities. We see him meet Malfoy in, you know, Madame Malkin's robe shop. And this is where Harry's insecurities really start to build up, because he's talking to this kid who's just mean. Okay, we're going to talk about Malfoy next week for sure. But Harry realizes he doesn't know a lot about Hogwarts or the wizarding world in general. He doesn't know what the houses mean, what Quidditch is, anything. And he's supposedly done this amazing feat that he can't even remember. And the whole of the wizarding world knows more about it than he does. He just has a lot working against him here when it comes to his knowledge. And, like, you know, is he really going to fit into this new world that he's been pushed into? It's scary. And so Hagrid tries to cheer him up, encourage him, more bonding between the 2 of them. And I'm glad that Harry seems to get over this particular insecurity quickly, because he sees once he gets to Hogwarts that he's on a similar playing field as a lot of the first years, especially, you know, the Muggleborns. They wouldn't have known anything either. And it's just a learning experience for all of them. And, you know, he even sees people like Ron, who doesn't know how he's going to get sorted into a house, which I thought was kind of crazy. Like, surely his mom would have told him something. I don't know. I thought that was weird, but he doesn't even know how that happens. So I think that gives Harry some comfort that he finds kindred spirits who are just excited to go to Hogwarts, but are also on a journey of learning as well. And so we end with him getting his ticket for the Hogwarts Express that will leave September 1st. We'll read the last paragraph of this chapter. Hagrid helped Harry onto the train that would take him back to the Dursleys, then handed him an envelope. "Your ticket for Hogwarts," he said. "1st of September, King's Cross. It's on your ticket. Any problems with the Dursleys, send me a letter with your owl. She'll know where to find me. See you soon, Harry." The train pulled out of the station. Harry wanted to watch Hagrid until he was out of sight. He rose in his seat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked and Hagrid had gone. Gosh, what a magical day for Harry. And this was his birthday too. Let's not forget. Probably the best birthday he's ever had. It would have been my favorite birthday to go to Diagon Alley and get a wand and an owl and figure out how to have a fortune. Wow, what a day. And now he just has to wait until September 1st to go to the Hogwarts Express. And I'm so excited to go there with him. But yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe and share it with any Harry Potter fans in your life. We need more people in this book club. We need to band together under the banner of Harry Potter and bring joy to the world through these books, especially during such a volatile time in our history. But until next week, we'll be talking about Chapter 6 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. We'll meet Ron and Hermione and Neville and Draco Malfoy more in depth, unfortunately, and we'll get to Hogwarts. Even if it's just the front door, we're getting there. But until next time, I will see you on Muggles and Mocha. I'm having too much fun with this. This is probably going to make its way into later videos. But yes, I'll see you next week. Bye.